Hey Bat fans, welcome back to Room 237, and yes, I'm sitting in front of the Batman books, which means it is time for, and people have been asking me about this. I've even made posts specifically about the Giallo Marathon, and I've been asked about this because they're related. And yes, I'm finally getting to it. Batman The Long Halloween Part 2. I did mean to do this last weekend, but I've been so strung up with time. I should have made time for this because of how long I waited. I have reviewed part 1, so go and check that out if you haven't already. That came out, I think, in June. This came out August 10th. So it's been out 12 days at this point. I did see it right when it came out. It's just taken a while to get here. And I will look to see when the deluxe edition comes out because I will be buying that as well. Why buy the deluxe edition as one movie when I have both volumes? Well, because, and I've said this for every video about Long Halloween, it's my all-time favorite comic book. Not just for Batman, but comics in general. This is my all-time favorite story. It's everything I look for in a Batman story. It's everything I look for in just a good story, especially a murder mystery. I mean, it is kind of cool that I've been doing like a Giallo marathon. And the first Batman review I do in between is a murder mystery. But, and Jeff Loeb did such a great job. I mean, I love seeing stories with a bunch of different characters. Great murder mystery. Ton of detective work, some of the best detective work. I love the moody, atmospheric artwork, which is prevalent in this during the opening credits. Now, I did give part 1 a very positive review. I thought it was very well done. There were some differences. You know, I can accept differences in a story from book to movie if they're done well. Even Stephen King said books and movies are apples and oranges. You're always going to get differences. Now, there were some differences in part 1 that I was extremely curious about how it was going to affect part 2. And I have to say, a lot of them, I thought they were all done fine. Especially the big one in part 1 that is going to change the ending of this. I thought that was done well. Of course, and actually, one of the biggest differences throughout as a theme is that you do get more of the villains. I mean, like, where Joker had a bigger role in part 1, Scarecrow and Mad Hatter have a bigger part in this. As far as the voice cast goes, I mean, so what did they do along Halloween? They did Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Here, it covers the rest. Some other differences is, and these aren't really spoilers. I mean, there's no Riddler, sadly. They don't do Riddler for April Fool's Day, which I was kind of disappointed about because I was curious to see how, what that was going to be like in film version. Riddler is my second favorite villain, so it would have been nice to see him. This one is rated R, whereas part 1's PG-13. It's really, I mean, there's a few F-bombs, a couple F-bombs in here, but a lot more Godfather references as well. Especially, there's a meeting between Sal Maroni and his father, which is in like a garden. There's like a vine-covered lattice, just like the dish best served cold scene in Godfather. At first I thought, like, when I first saw the trailer, I thought the sort of thick outline, almost Archer-style animation wouldn't have worked with such a gritty noir story like this. I thought they made it work. I thought the animation was actually well done with this. really liked how they handled Two-Face. The voice actor, because of course we didn't see him as Two-Face in part 1, was it Josh Duhamel? Yeah, who does Harvey Dent Two-Face. His Two-Face voice sounds a lot like Richard Mall from the animated series, so that's awesome. Jensen Ackles, once again, great as Batman, Bruce Wayne. Naya Rivera, of course, sadly, she passed away last summer. She passed away last summer, unfortunately, but, she had already recorded. May she rest in peace. Who were some of the voice actors that weren't in part 1? Like John DiMaggio is Mad Hatter. Robin Atkin Downs does Scarecrow as well as Thomas Wayne. Katie Sackhoff is Poison Ivy. We have pretty much everyone else. Penguin is in here, but he's just kind of there to go like, wah, wah, wah. Which, that is one thing I will say. What I was waiting to see how they were going to capture the iconic panel, and probably my favorite panel of the whole story, which is when all the villains are in Falcone's office. I was wondering how they were going to treat that, and I thought it was, it's definitely one of the highlights of the film. That is my favorite, double page panel, probably of all time. Definitely of Long Halloween. But, it's a very good adaptation. Yes, the ending is drastically different. I'll even say there's things in this that if they decide to do Dark Victory, it's going to change. I mean, they still might be able to pull it off, but it might be kind of hard. Because this is a DC Universe movie, which means it's not a standalone adaptation like Killing Joke or Hush or, Gotham by Gaslight. So, if they do Dark Victory, you might have to do it that way. I mean, they still could pull off, I'll say it before I get to spoilers, but, which I might as well get into spoilers now, because where it's a mystery and where it just came out is really all there is to talk about. But, I thought it was great. Like I said, you can have differences if they're done well. Like, the twist ending to Hush, I was not a fan of. I did not think that was a good twist ending. The twist in this, or how they chose to end it in this, as different as it is, I thought it worked. I guess some of the differences I can say before we get into spoilers is the length of time, because it opens up, with Bruce being under Poison Ivy's spell. It's longer in this than it is in the book. I mean, in the movie, he's under her spell for 3 months. Whereas in the book, I think it was 1 month between Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day. Also, Alfred was under Poison Ivy's control in the movie, but that wasn't in the book. So it's smaller stuff like that. The fact there is no Riddler. Actually, I don't even think there really is in April. Is there an April Fool's Day? I don't remember. I watched this last weekend. It goes straight to Father's Day, I think, which is when Maroni meets Luigi Maroni, his father, and that's when he's killed by Holiday. Also, there's a great deal of really pointing to, actually I'll say that for spoilers, but like the GCPD spends more time investigating Bruce Wayne, longer in the movie. Long Halloween, where like every villain that's in it really gets kind of one scene, like one chapter. In this, we have extensive Scarecrow, fear toxin sequences, especially involving the death of the Waynes. So, it's kind of like in part one, when there are changes, it is more extensive or expansive of the source material. So, with that, there is a new origin for the coin. Like we see that in part one, Batman gives Dent the two-sided coin. That's pretty much the order. We see how Bruce gets it in this. The Independence Day victim is different. It's actually, instead of a guy that works at the coroner's office, it's actually a Falcone hitman. So, I'm just gonna... Oh, and also in the book, all the villains, once they're broken out of Arkham, they go straight to Falcone's. Here, some of them wreak havoc on Gotham, like Poison Ivy and Scarecrow, whereas the rest of them go to Falcone's office. So there are differences, but I know there's going to be some people where, even if someone's suit or shirt is a different color, they'll say, it's the whole movie's garbage, trash, dumpster fire, terrible adaptation, redo it. But, I don't mind differences as long as they're good. And the one that matters the most, the difference that matters the most is the ending. Who is Holiday? That's what really matters. And so, I guess I'll get into spoilers now, but before I do, one, if you haven't read Long Halloween, do yourself a favor and read it. You definitely got to read it. Two, but make sure you read Year One first, just because it does work best as a sequel to Year One. Also, if you haven't seen the movie, don't stream it. Just go out and buy it. Like, actually support physical media so they can keep making it. I suppose you could wait until the deluxe edition comes out. People have asked me if it's worth picking up like this, and my answer is, do you want to see it? If the answer is yes, then yeah, go get it. But I can't recommend it enough. It's becoming my favorite adaptation. Is it as close as The Dark Knight Returns to the source material or even Year One? No, it does have substantial differences, but the differences are done well. It's not like they change it for the hell of it. Okay, maybe Riddler, like the exclusion of Riddler, stuff like that. But everything else, like I said with part one, the differences are more extensive or expands upon the source material. So I think that works. So with that, we'll get into spoilers. As I've said before, the big change with this was New Year's, Alberto Falcone. In the book, he falls off the boat, seemingly drowning or freezing to death. In this, we see him go under, hit the propeller of the boat, and get chewed the fuck up. Like he's dead. So he can't he's not coming back. He can't take the fall for Holiday. He can't do the Holiday kill that he does do. He's out of the picture. So what do they do with this? Well, Alberto is still involved in the reveal at the end for who Holiday is, but he's still dead. No, he still he did not don Holiday. He doesn't get fingered as Holiday posthumously. It is hinted at one point in the film that between Harvey and Gilda, he says, so you can go back to him, or you're thinking about him. He doesn't say who him is. I think we, as an audience, are supposed to think possibly Bruce, maybe someone from their past. But once everything is said and done, and Gilda is downstairs burning her holiday gear, in this, Batman's there. Whereas in the book, she does it herself, and no one knows it's her. In the movie, Batman is there, and she's confessing that, which Batman had already known that it was Gilda. But, so Two-Face is placed in Arkham, and he keeps muttering Gilda's name. So then we see Gilda in her basement, burning Holiday stuff, and she's saying that she had been in a relationship with Alberto Falcone while she went to Oxford. Because in this, the workshop table where the gun gets, serial number gets filed off, there's an Oxford University flag. Batman knew Harvey didn't go to Oxford, but he knew Gilda did. So that's kind of his clue that made him deduce that it was Gilda. So she's saying that her and Alberto, got married. She got pregnant. But Carmine forced them to get an annulment and Gilda to have an abortion. And it ruined her life. She sought revenge on not just Alberto or Carmine, but the Falcone family in general. So Alberto is still tied into the end to Holiday, just in a much different way. And it's still a tragic ending. It's still tragic like the book, albeit in a much different way. It's still effective. It still works. And the last thing, and she doesn't express any remorse for what she or Harvey did because they both hated the Falcones. So the last thing Batman does is she asks if she's going to go to prison. He says, well, is Holiday finished? And she doesn't really answer him. And, whoops. And so then it ends with the doorbell at the manor ringing. Is trick-or-treaters. Even though earlier Batman told Alfred that they never get trick-or-treaters. But Batman sees a boy dressed as Batman and he gives him candy. And he seems to kind of be... Because in part one it says that there was never trick-or-treaters, but now he sees a boy dressed as Batman. Kind of gives him hope. Because keep in mind, at this point, it's year 3. At the beginning, it was year 2. Now it's year 3 of Batman. And, I mean, there are some other differences, like the way Carla Viti is killed. She's killed in the elevator during, was it her birthday or Carmine's birthday? Oh, it was Falcone's birthday, and her body was in the elevator, so it opened up, they all saw her body. Where in the book she died in the coroner's office. Sal Maroni in the book died during a police transfer on Labor Day. Whereas he's attacked by Solomon Grundy and Two-Face in this. So there are a bunch of differences. Also, I don't know why I cannot remember her name. Oh, my favorite book, and I can't even remember her name, but Falcone's giant daughter, who, oh, I gotta see what her name is. It's gonna drive me nuts. Sophia, wow. Sophia Falcone. Again, not to spoil Dark Victory, but she dies in this. She gets thrown, I think she gets thrown out of a window. She ends up going out a window and falling to her death regardless of how she gets out the window. So, yeah, if they decide to do Dark Victory, it's going to affect that. But in any case, so yeah, there are plenty of differences. And Long Halloween's only one volume. I'm just holding both these up. There are plenty of differences between, but like I said, all the differences are more of an expansion of what happens in here. And I think that's perfectly fine. I think killing off Alberto in this, or making him die, other than fake die in the book, really made us question and be apprehensive about what was going to happen in this. But I think the way they worked it in there, being with Gilda's past and everything, still making him part of Holiday, but just not the Holiday killer, is effective. And I thought that worked very well. I know people will say it's a shitty twist just because it's different, but it can be different as long as it's still in the same tone, spirit, and is just as effective. You know, it did give the villains more stuff to do. You know, I like the reveal of Two-Face. You know, for a while it does only show like this part of his face, or it's in shadow. It is kind of like the animated series where it's like a big moment. I thought it was a great adaptation. And I thought the music, you know, is very somber. The animation, I thought was a good choice. It was the thing I was most skeptical of, but I thought it worked out well. So, yeah, Batman The Long Halloween, great adaptation. I am going to get the deluxe edition when that comes out. But, yeah, loved part 1, thought it was really good. Loved part 2. I waited years to see an animated Long Halloween. Now it's finally out, and I thought they did a great job with it. Again, all differences aside, I thought the differences worked. If I had to complain about any of them, it's the exclusion of Riddler's part. I would like to see that, because that's a chapter I like as well in the book. But I thought part 2, you know, better than part 1, which it should be. And it, despite the differences they did, it still pulled off the ending, made it just as tragic, just as sad, just as didn't see it coming. I didn't see Gilda being once married to Alberto and being forced in annulment in an abortion. So it's still a very effective, well done movie, even on its own merits. But I loved Batman Long Halloween. So after this, I'm going to get back to my Italian Giallo marathon, but I did want to do that because it did just came out. It is my favorite comic book. Finally got the animated film. I really enjoyed it. So thank you for watching.